Assalamu alaikum and greetings to you all over the world. Our viewers, we are saying we are back again. This is a proud moment for the Gambia because, we have our series of our brothers, the lineup, writing books now and raising issues on pen and paper concerning about our country. This is another milestone, and we have to celebrate these things. We are proud if our brothers and sisters are writing books, that reflects. We can see ourselves in those books. So today also we have another fantastic book that we are going to review to talk about issues and connect it, and we can see ourselves. This book is fantastic, and but no surprise, when you know the author, you will know how artistic he is in writing if you follow his Facebook pages and all that. But to see these books and reflect and see yourself there is wonderful. This is why we are encouraging our brothers and sisters to come up and write books, and tell our own stories, not people coming and tell our stories to ourselves, and we are, as you know, this is dialogue with the youth, so we name it that. But it is the so for everyone else, everybody, especially those who are in the Gambia, and we are here. We say greetings to you. What we are going to plead to you is, please share this the program so that it can reach out to numberless of people, especially those in the Gambia, because the culture of reading needs to be ensconced by us, and so that we can put our stories together. The next generation can easily pick where we stand. Because as I always say, if you don't know your history, you remain a child. So this is why we have to put our things together. And we have another fantastic book by our own brother. This book is The Mischievous Mosquito of Banjul, author by Mr. Momodou Ndow and Safi Jain. But we have Momodou with us here. Brother, welcome to Dialogue with the Youth, so Gunjur Online TV. Greetings, and we are honored to have you. Greetings, welcome, Mr. Ndow.
Thank you, Ebrima. It's a pleasure to be here on Gunjur Online platform. Um, it's time to have a conversation, and I think we can do it respectfully, and make sure that we get everybody involved so that we can try to see how we can move our country forward.
Thank you, brother. We are honored for you to dignify us with your presence here. And just I've reached out to you, and you respond quickly. And we are honored, Gunjur Online, and on behalf of everybody, I say thank you for come to this platform. This book is fantastic book, and I keep laughing when how you come about these names and these phrases, and that fascinates me a lot. I'm not surprised, but those who are not following your Facebook writings and all those things might not know. I just we're gonna start and ask you what inspired you to come out with this fantastic book.
This story was written 10 years ago. I don't think I've said this in a couple of platforms. Um, I was writing an article about Banjul. I had a series about Banjul. So this was supposed to be, I think, the third series. So, but on the second series, I talked about the um, the sewage system that was built in Gambia at the time in Banjul, and everything that went wrong with the project, and it kind of you know basically exacerbated the problem of the gutters and the mosquitoes. So stagnant water, instead of going away, kind of was multiplied, and um, Banjul just became a mess after that project. So I had a paragraph in there about the mosquitoes, and my late father was doing proofreading it for me and asked that I take that paragraph out. So then I later went through the paragraph about the mosquitoes, and created all these characters and made it like a fun, but yet very profound message about our environment, and the deterioration of the environment, and the mosquitoes and malaria. So, but then maybe a year or two ago, a friend suggested that I should turn it into a children's book. So that's when all these ideas, but the characters were already there. So I just had to kind of change the language from an adult audience to a younger audience. So that's why I brought in my niece, Safi Jain, to help me with the story and making it appealing to youths and younger children, and also the culture of reading as well.
Mhm,
uh,
mhm.
Gambia, it's basically non-existent, and we are all
Yeah,
a victim of that. So I wanted to contribute in changing that.
yeah. Yeah, contributing in changing that you have, because this book is fantastic, because it's nice and simple and funny book, and it's all full of, with pictures and all those things that will motivate kids,
Mhm.
to read as a starting point, and as you said, the environment, because we have these mosquitoes a lot, for long, 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 long time, and they're causing havoc. We know that, but we don't seems to know much about mosquitoes and all those things. So some of the things that you playfully put in this book, reflect my mind, and I start understand. I didn't know they they can fly for only 2 to 1 to 3 hours, three, so all those things, but we didn't bother. These things are there creating all kind of stuffs, but we didn't know much about them. So
Mhm.
the book also point out about cleanliness, about the gutters and all those things, so it's a compendium of things that kids will reflect and see, because of this, this is why mosquitoes are there. I remember when I went to Gambia and I had this banana peel and I was going around with it. I don't want to throw it. And my sister would say, you just throw this thing here. This is no problem and all those things. But if we put these things into kids' head,
Right, right.
since at that tender age, knowing that, it is ourselves, contributing to
Yes.
all all these mosquitoes around our area, we can do a lot to reduce the amount of mosquitoes through cleanliness, through not throwing things, all
Mhm.
over the place.
Right.
So this is profound, really. It is fantastic book, and this book is in Amazon. As I said, we have to celebrate our best, our people, so that they can be role models for us. Go to Amazon if you are in UK, in Europe, or America. Please get this book, and at least, to be proud. It's just all about being proud to our brother. Because I sent it to one guy in America. He said, I didn't know our Gambian brothers are writing books. I say, definitely they are. And I sent Nata's book, Alaji Sedi Baro, and this book to him. And he wrote back that he ordered them and they are on the way. So this is what we should all do to encourage, the mischievous mosquitoes of Banjul. Go to Amazon, is there, and order your copy. Read it. If you read it, you can send it to Gambia for these kids, so we can encourage them, inculcate the ideas of readings, and we will have young authors that will come and write our own stories. Mr. Ndau, Banjul, as you said in your book, Banjul had character, it has
Mhm.
charm, the atmosphere was magnificent, and the city was vibrant. The
Yeah.
setting was simple and all those things. But why do we, where did we go wrong? And why is it this not happening now in Banjul?
I think right after independence, because I think when during the colonial days, for some reason, we tend to obey our colonial masters more than our own people, in a sense. So right after during the colonial days, everything was in order. The gutters were being cleaned. They were inspecting homes and all this, and people were, they participated, they accepted this. But then after we gained our independence, then everything became lax. People were not, the laws were not being enforced. The environment, corruption started to creep in, and I think that's how the city deteriorated. Because then now you have people just assuming power, and having all these positions, and didn't it was new to them, and they didn't know how to handle it. So it was basically, when you're in a position of power, you feel like it is yours, and then you start doing favors for people. People were not being fined, or especially for electricity, they were not reading the meters because it's their family's home. So the work ethic just dropped, and everything just unraveled. And I think even for the electricity, the first time, um, when it went out was in 1977, and since then it's been downhill. We can't maintain anything, so we have to be very progressive in our thinking and know that it is our responsibility. We ask for independence and we get independence, so we need to either maintain what we had or make it better and not let it deteriorate. So I think it was just this lax attitude that's why the city went down.
Yeah, yeah, that's unfortunate, and it comes with a lot of consequences,
Yes.
and as the book related. That's why I said, how you condense this book to this level, I don't know, because it's just full of things that
Yeah,
we can discuss for the rest of this year,
yeah.
and because the implications are so high, and because and you mentioned about the role of the health inspectors in
Mhm.
Banjul, in terms of Banjul's cleanliness and all those things. So that also dropped, you know.
Yes.
And, for some reason, I think, just immediately after after our independence, we had these some of these health inspectors. I
Mhm.
remember when I was young in Gunjur, and sometimes even those who are selling pancakes and all those things, they have to cover. And if
Right,
they don't
right.
cover, the health inspector will come and take it from them,
Mhm.
and go and throw it somewhere,
Right.
save and all those things. And this tells a lot about us as a people, and us as government, when we cannot even maintain these health inspectors, and the crucial role they play to make our cities clean.
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
know what is wrong? What is wrong with us? As a people, because this got us also. People start throwing things.
Right,
Not
right.
only the health inspectors were not there because everything was in chaos. We Either we didn't know how important, or how related our dirty environment is to
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
mosquitoes, or something else. But something is just not right with us to the extent that we are killing ourselves. Because when all these things are happening around us, the environment is dirty, and we will see, mosquitoes, they become so comfortable to the extent that they form an army that has to attack our. So these inspectors, can you tell us the role of these inspectors in Banjul then, in terms of the city's cleanliness?
Yeah. So, I mean, when we were kids in Banjul, the inspectors used to come around. I mean, even during the colonial days, right after independence, we were born after independence, but even before that, they would inspect all the homes. They would inspect even the drinking water, everything. And if you find wanting, you'll get a citation, right? So that played a role in keeping the city clean. If you see all photos of Banjul, you'll see how clean the city was. I mean, there are
Yes,
all
yes.
photos of Banjul that are black and white. You see all these buildings, everywhere is clean because the laws were being enforced, right? And um, in Banjul, I think the Akus were the first to be educated, right? So they were mainly the ones that were the inspectors and the clerks and stuff like that. So I think it was maybe the Wolofs that were educated next because of proximity, because they were living in the urban and Banjul area. So most of these roles were, you know, Akus that were the inspectors and stuff like you hear most of the names that I used to hear were like Mr. Prom. Those were all the because they were the inspectors. So, but then the other issue I think is the lack of sensitization of the
Mm,
population, because what happens in Banjul when they did the sewage system, they didn't sensitize the people as to how it was going to work, what to throw there and what not to throw there. They just did it and then just left it to the people. So if you do that and um, not sensitize people, they would know how to handle it. You have to educate the population, whether through radio, through newspaper, through TV, what have you. But you have to let them know, hey, you don't just build structures and then just leave it at that. You have to educate them about the use of the structure and their role as citizens also in maintaining that. So if you don't do that, especially in our type of environment where literacy is not very high, so even if you put signs, people might not only the people that are educated will read it. Otherwise, even at that time, it was very limited. So, and that's the reason why I wanted to bring this book out, is for the sensitization of the next generation, because our people now have already are set in their ways. So we have to target the next generation if we
yeah.
want to change the culture. And what's the next generation is the kids. So it's easier to change the culture through for the next generation than the adults that are now, because we're sitting there. I mean, it's still doable. They did it in Rwanda. They had these wars and everything, but within a few years, the mindset has been changed because of some stringent rules and regulations, and making sure that they bring together. They wanted to come together, and the will was there. So adults can be changed. The mindset can be changed also. But in our situation, if the political will is not there, and people just don't care, you have to target the next generation, and that's what I'm trying to do with this book, to make sure that this is the sometimes I joke around and say that this book is the ultimate Mbalit project, right? Because regardless if you buy thousands of trucks and you put it out there, if you don't sensitize the people, the trucks will clean and the people are going to litter again.
Yes.
Right. So you have to now focus on the next generation and trying to change the mindset from a very tender age, like you said earlier. So once you do that, then your rate of success becomes higher, right? Because then you have to plant these things in their mind. The kids need to know, wow, at a very young age, wow, this is why, this is this. So we need to do something about it. And once you start engaging kids and it became a culture, these other kids will teach the other kids. And books are here forever. So you can pass this on. One book can be read by 15, 20 kids, 30, 40, right? So one book can go a long way in educating kids. So I just felt like I had to do something um, uh, to contribute in the development of the country, no matter how little, and especially reading, and through reading and through books, you try to educate the people, and so that's why the story is so unique and different. So there is a lot of things going on in the story. You have um, the migration for opportunity in the case of Lamino and Nyancho, right? To seek for opportunity, which is also a human thing, and it happens everywhere in the world. People leave rural areas to come to cities here in America to find opportunity. So I wanted to highlight that. I also wanted to represent women, right, in the character of Nyancho,
Yes.
and also represent the disabled in the character of Joel, because we have a society where if you're disabled, you're done, basically, right? So I wanted to show that your disability doesn't just necessarily mean that you're not able, because the disabled are able. I mean, here you have blind people doing computer coding, right? So if a blind person can do computer coding, why can't somebody, with a limp be out there and be employable instead of begging in the streets? So we have to change these cultures. And if you don't do it in a very young age, because kids, even if kids are reading it, they see like they have a disability. It's like, oh, wow, I could be like Joel because he's blind and look at him, right? Now he's a commander and he can't see, he's flying and all this. So I wanted to make sure that all these things were highlighted and in a very profound way as well.
Yeah, profound way, and definitely, brother. I think the policymakers, especially at the council level, can learn a lot from some of these things, because we tend to oversight these things. The mechanic part of everything. That's what we focus, because that's what people can easily see. The jokes and all those things, and what people can say. You bring all those things, but as far as people are not educated, because here in schools people are educated about recycling, not to litter around, and all those things, on top of all the mechanical aspect of what they can do here. But they are encouraging these things, to kids. So the best way, as you say, going into the future is to educate our kids, so that they can know, they can be aware of the consequence of some of their behaviors or the behaviors of their elders and all those. Here, sometimes walking with my daughter on the street, and if you trust it, that you shouldn't do that, So so when my sister is telling me this is no problem in the Gambia, you can litter anything on the street, So you see the mindset. So this is important. It is very, very timely. That's why I say this book is pregnant with everything, really, and for even for the elderly, because the blind Joel, just who has been the commander and trained the Nyanchos and the Laminos and all those things, who are great generals, and that tells a lot, really speaking, So and but the Gutters, they were, as you mentioned, they were pretty much simple, but they did their job,
Right, right,
you know
right.
but as long as we keep them right. So all these fanciful things and all those things, you explain the drainage system, like, the water trickle into the small street gutters, the big
Mhm.
gutters drain into the different places, and
Yeah,
the wetlands and all the wetlands is so important. These conducts will finally release the water into the river Gambia.
mhm.
When we are tampering on these things, so even though it was simple that time, and we have Banjul was vibrant with all more people there, all the problems there then in
Mhm.
terms of
Mhm.
numbers and what people littered here and the drainage system and all those things. Now Banjul is not that busy, and we are spending all this money into the drainage system when we had a simple one,
Right,
which
right.
was very, very, very effective. So something somewhere is wrong, and these wetlands that we are encouraging now to build all these things. I don't know whether we know whether these are the final the final waterways that release the water into the river Gambia. So the implication is so high, and the importance of the gutters and whether small or whatever is so important in the cleanliness of Banjul and mosquitoes,
Right, right,
and
right.
the sicknesses and our health and everything. Knowing also our main hospital is in Banjul, bro. And now those who are taking patients to Banjul, sleeping outside, they end up getting sick.
They end up getting, yeah.
Because of the numberless of mosquitoes that are there. And if policymakers cannot see the link of the dead, the blockage of the gutters and the drainage system and mosquitoes, then that's going to create a lot of problem.
Yeah.
So this drainage system, can you explain it? What you remember about it? When you were young in Banjul and all those things, and we were playing with it even when I was in Muslim high school.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
throw them, we jump here and all that.
yeah,
We throw
yeah.
things in it, but we didn't know how important they are.
Right.
So this is so important. What you mentioned in terms of educating each other, so that we can know these structures there, their benefit, what they do. Maybe we will have taken care of them better. So give us a synopsis of this drainage system and how it works in your
Yeah,
recollection.
well, they were just because Banjul, I think, used to flood. They had a big flood back in the day, and I think um, Afdai area was flooded. They were using. I think this was after World War II, right? When either Roosevelt was visiting Gambia or something like that. So
Mm,
there was a big flood, um, and my grandma used to tell me that they used to use like canoes to move around.
yeah,
So I think that's when the British decided that they were pretty much going to do like got a system to to you know make the water start running in the city and sending it to the Bond Road area where they had a station called Power Machine. So where that machine, so they built some gutters, like you have the big gutters on Grand Street, and I lived on Dobson Street. So at the end of Dobson Street, there was another big gutter, and then you have the main gutter, Grand Street, and there was another one on Hill Street as well. So you have it was just a simple connection of these small gutters that are going to feed into this big main gutters because they were so big. We used to get into those gutters and just running from left to right, because it was huge. You just kind of climb into the gutter. So it was simple, and you just did small ones running into the big ones, and the big ones just transporting the water, and it goes out to Parmesan. So that, and then that Parmesan, the machine will pump out the water, and it goes out into to the river. So, but uh, then the project came, which was Sogeya, which was a French company that was hired because they wanted to do like a nice sewer system in
yeah,
Banjul. Like they started gutting out the streets and putting pipes. But the pipes we're using were inferior because these were small pipes that were being used in some parts of Brazil in those like little like ghetto areas, and some parts that are used in like small communities here instead of like the big ones. So they didn't last because you know how Gambia is, it's just always
yeah,
corruption. People are cutting corners. So instead of doing a real city job, like getting the ones, because here, the ones they have, people can actually climb into it and clean them, right? So,
Yes.
but this was small pipes, and people started throwing trash in there, and before you know it, it started, the blockage started, and the gutters were filthy, everything. People were not sensitized, so the city just quickly unraveled, and within a short period of time. So, um, and then after that, because it was a mess before, but after the contract, it became even messier because Sogea in the contract, there was no stipulation for them to repair the roads when they were done, right? So the roads were even worse now. Water is stagnant all the time when it rains because the roads are bad. So the water is not moving into the gutter, and the gutter was starting to get clogged up anyway. So it was just a bad job all around, and corruption, like we know, just contributed to the city's deterioration. So in one of my pieces about Banjul, I came up with some suggestions about how to revive the city. Um, and I talked about some of these things as well, how it happened and what the city can do to generate money, because the port authority is part of the city and they're hosted, so they should have a significant portion of the money that comes from the court instead of everything going to the central government, and the central government basically giving the council a handout. So the councils need to fight and say, hey, this is our roads. These big trucks are using because the port is here. So we need a certain percentage of the revenue from the port. I mean, they can fight this in court. They don't just have to go to government and start begging, because the laws are there. If you're entitled to something as a city, you need to fight for it. So they can take these matters to court and fight for it and say, hey, this is what we need to maintain our roads, because what you're giving us is not enough, and we host the port, and if not, move the port out of here. So you have to sometimes take some stands, but we allow central government to control everything. So we need to start decentralizing and give power to some of these local councils, so that way they can perform their duties.
Yeah, and I think this is important. I think all the cities, especially Banjul, need to recognize that
Yes.
the wealth is there. The wealth is there to recreate Banjul to the best of their test. And when they come together as a unit, forget about the political part, the party political gerrymandering and all those things. The focus should be the benefit of everybody in Banjul.
Yeah.
The
Right.
ports are there, all the sources that they can tap into money wise is there, but the government is just collecting those money, not spending it on Banjul with all the pollutions, with the trucks coming and everything
Personally,
else. But Banjul is getting nothing. And at the end of the day, the same government will come and divide you, into,
right.
into,
Right.
into,
Right.
into factions, when everybody is suffering. So if they come together as a unit, definitely this will happen. Let the ports or all the businesses that are there, and let the government allow them to, to develop that place, especially the drainage system, because the havoc mosquitoes can do is too much, and,
It's
and
too
it's
much. Yeah.
causing how many kids are dying because of mosquito related, malaria, yellow fever, and
Yellow
all
fever.
those things, because of that. So the simple thing to clean that place, the place that produce all of us, because everybody else was going to Banjul for their high schools. You
Right.
either have a guardian there, or you
Mm,
have to come from Serekunda to go there
mm,
for almost 5 years of your life.
right.
And but things are disintegrating, and the government knows, potentially when people come together, their demands will be met. So this is very, very good thing. I think the Bajurians, those who are there, should know that there are potentials there, to create a better environment for everybody, those who are living in, and for the whole country, because it is the capital.
Yeah, yeah,
Which,
and it's just not just Banjul, because
yes,
I
yes,
mean, people have left Banjul and they've moved now to the Combos, but it's the same attitude
yeah,
that they've taken to the
yeah,
Combos.
yeah,
I mean, there are mosquitoes everywhere. You go to those Igbo town and Talinding, there's garbage everywhere. There's mosquitoes everywhere. So if you don't sensitize people, so I mean, I call them the mischievous mosquitoes of Banjul, because Banjul is the capital,
mm,
right?
mm, mm, mm,
But just like in Banjul, you have all types of people that live there from everywhere. So that's why these mother mosquitoes came to, and they lived in Banjul, and they were part of the mosquitoes of Banjul, because once you move to a certain place, you
mm,
become part of that place. This is your new environment. So a lot of people, like you said, moved, have a guardian in Banjul, and they would go there and they would finish high school and then maybe have a job, and now they live in Banjul and then maybe renting a house. So they're basically living a Banjul life now. They're part of the Banjul community. So Banjul is just this melting pot that belongs to everybody.
Mm-hmm,
So, but
mm-hmm.
it's just the mischievous mosquitoes of Banjul. But then
Yeah, yeah.
um, the story is going to continue because it's going to move to Bakau and then
Mm.
to the Combos, because basically the entire urban area is mosquito infested now, not
Oh
just
yes,
Banjul,
yes,
right? But because
definitely.
we never treated the situation in Banjul, people were never sensitized. So wherever they go, they take the same mentality, the same mindset, the same attitude, because attitude is everything in life,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because attitude determines how you treat people, how you treat your environment, anything. So if your attitude towards that environment is it's kind of flawed, then you don't see that environment as something significant, something important to your life. So unless you see that environment as something significant, then you will take care of that environment. So, and that comes through education.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
we have to target the young, and try to change the mindset, because if not, it's going to be a disaster.
Yes, definitely change the mindset. That's the key word here, and I think this should be a literature book in all the schools, in the Gambia, especially at primary schools and kindergarten. Somebody should read these books to them, because as you said now, anywhere you go within Combo is all mosquito infested. Especially raining season. The
Right.
amount of money people are spending on the health on malaria during the raining season, the nets, the coils, the moon tigers, and all the spray
All
that
this
are
is,
going on.
mhm.
This is costing us a lot of money, and virtually during raining season, even those who are in the diaspora don't want to go to Gambia,
Yeah.
because of
And the
malaria.
American government is just intervened. They came, they have like a malaria program. So I think 2 months ago they came, they're supporting Gambia in our efforts to eradicate malaria. But that's something that we should have been doing a long time ago. We should not be just sitting and waiting for people to come
Yeah,
help us take care of our problems,
definitely.
right? This mosquito problem, malaria problem has been in Gambia forever, but we're too busy buying SUVs and giving out gas coupons
Yeah,
and all
yeah.
this nonsense
Mm, mm,
that really has no benefit to anyone.
mm,
So instead of taking care of the actual issues that are causing people their lives, and it is very, very important. The hospitals, you don't have medicine, but then we have, you know Land Rovers and Range Rovers everywhere. So our priorities are kind of whacked, and
mm.
I think the government is the one that kind of sets the tone,
The
and they
term,
have not done a good job in
yeah.
setting the tone.
Once again, we are discussing about this book, the mischievous mosquitoes of Banjul. We can, say the mischievous mosquitoes of the Gambia,
Of
because
the Gambia,
mosquitoes
there
are
you
all
go.
over the place. When you go to provinces,
Yes,
I was a teacher at Jara, and mosquitoes are all over the
all
place.
over the place. Yeah,
Yes, it's scary there also. I think that is even more serious than Banjul. So these books should be bought by all of us. Donate these books to primary schools and all those things. The policy makers, wherever they are, they need to get these books, and we start educating our people at that primary level, so that they can understand that sometimes our behaviors increase mosquitoes, and what these mosquitoes do when they are increased in large number is to make us sick. We lose school days. We cannot enjoy ourselves. I was sickly when I was young. Every time it is malaria. Every time
mm,
it is malaria. To the extent and the long-term health implication of these continuous sicknesses on your education, on your life, on your confidence, and on everything
right.
is too much. But as you said, we are too busy fighting each other. We
Yeah,
are too busy, looking for SUVs and government coupons and traveling and all those things, to the extent that we don't care about our lives, and we end up, dying at the very, very early stage, early age of our lives, because of compendium of all these health issues, the mosquitoes, the dirty environment, and everything else. So these things need to be taken into consideration, so that, but anybody in the diaspora can start getting this book, and send it to their brothers to the primary schools. I have a primary school. No, sometimes we the books that the kids read and they don't want them anymore, we send it to them. This book, I'm going to add more to this, gradually, so that I can send it. I hope
Yeah.
they will take the lead, the headmasters and headmistresses,
Yeah.
so that
And this book also, it's
yeah,
I think for me the biggest thing is the representation,
yes,
because our kids can see themselves in this book.
yeah,
Like anybody can say, "Hey, I am Momodou or I am Amadou," right? Because
yes,
you have all these kids. Even you can, if you want to be one of the characters because of the heroism they show, you can be Nyancho. Like some girl can be, "Hey, I am Nyancho,"
yeah,
and you aspire to be a commander or be some top level something. So there's this human element in it, in the way
yeah.
we live our lives and the way
Yeah.
we pursue our dreams.
And
But also,
Mr. Ndow, you can make this a play. You can make these kids can play this in
yes,
schools,
yes, yeah, yeah,
and because and yes, but let's move forward. They tell us about the Banjul mosquito, the forces, I mean, and their leader Baba, the cheeky boy, so so fantastic book, really, really fantastic, and because as I said, this book, if you want to expand this, it will be 1,000-page book or more, really, So
yeah,
to
yeah.
condense this to this level for the kids, you
Right.
did
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
marvelous job, really.
It was tough because
Yeah,
you have, because the attention span for kids is very short, right?
yeah,
So it was so hard to decide what goes in and what you keep out. So it was this back and forth with the editors. You give them something, they're like, no, no, this is too much. Discuss. You have to take this out. We have to, we can't. We have to do a certain number of words per page. Blah blah blah. So it took a lot of maneuvering to get it down to that precise and have all the messages in it. So because for me, like when I was in the zone of doing it, because we did it with a short timeline. Normally, it takes 6 months to do a children's book with the illustrations and everything because it's very tricky. You have to approve every stage, the illustrator. You got to make sure that the scene and the writing, the story matches, and if anything is missing, they have to add it. So it's very, very excruciating. So to be able to just do it to that much, it's after when I sit back
mhm,
and look at it, it's like, wow, I didn't, when I was in the zone, I just had this idea of just getting it, but you don't see the actual product until it's done. And then you look back and review it and say, wow, I was able to jam all this in here and all
mhm,
the messages are there, even though there was a back and forth, because sometimes as the author also, you have this emotional connection to some of the things in the book and you don't want to let it go. But I have to, like in my mind, kind of divorce myself from that and say, okay, this is not about me, it's about the audience. So some of the things that I'm attached to, I may have to let go so that the story can be whole. And so some things came out, but everything that was essential and needed to be in it was in it. So anything extra would have kind of diluted the story in a sense.
mhm,
So
mhm,
I'm pleased with the product and the outcome and everything that we were able to do within that short period of time, to
mhm,
condense it into this, get all the messages. It was really a wonderful
mhm.
labor of love.
And it's wonderful. The costumes, especially the mosquitoes costume,
Yeah.
and the illustration, the pictures, that
Right, right.
portray. Because if you look at the backgrounds and the pictures, you don't need to read. If
Yes,
somebody is
yes,
there,
yes.
like a
Yeah,
teacher in
it tells
front,
the whole story.
yeah,
It tells the whole
exactly.
story.
They can talk to kids with these pictures, the
Yes.
cleaning. There's a fish at some point, and
Yeah.
somebody, all the fish heads, they're just chucking them on the street.
Right, right.
And the costumes are fantastic, really speaking.
Yeah, so the
You know,
costumes were just ideas that I had.
yeah,
The illustrator, she's Brazilian, and based in Brazil, but she's very brilliant. So I just gave her a description of what I was looking for. I said, hey, I made a description of the characters. I said Nyancho, and I gave the personality. I said she's like a fashionista. She likes to wear this, like her African outfit, her skirts. She's got earrings. She's got a head tie. Blah 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 blah. And the first sketch she gave me,
Yeah.
was perfect. She didn't even have to change anything. And this is just the description by words. So, and I said, oh, Baba is flamboyant, he has a hat, and then blah, blah, blah. And then boom, she gave it to me. And then I said, Lamino has like this big gold chain. He's flashy. He came to the city. He's got found success. So now he's in to show it up. So he bought him a bling, and he's got a cap, blah, blah, blah. And boom, everything's first getting Joel, everything the same thing, So she was just brilliant. And I think she did her research um, about Banjul and Gambia too. So, and then she would see some ideas. So, because if you look at the book, you'll see that some of the outfits of the people, especially in that city area, you'll see that it's from the colonial days, how they used to wear those outfits. So those were all some research that she made and made some suggestions like that. I was like, okay, let's go for it. So it was definitely a team effort. And I just
Yeah.
gave her the ideas of the characters in my head, and she just came through with it. So it was really good.
Yeah. Greetings to our viewers all over the place. Mariama Juare says, interesting conversation. Thank you. And Momodou Sanya just order his own copy now,
Oh, good.
I wish, I hope
And
and pray that
they can
more
order
people,
it from my publisher's website too, if
yes,
they're living in the US, which is
oh,
Fire.
yeah.
Yeah,
All
Fire
right.
now.
Okay. Yeah. If we hadn't had that, we will have published that on the screen. But
Yeah,
anyway, contact Momodu at any time on Facebook, and he will give you the link. So I want more people to take this book and take it seriously, as you said, because if you take this book and read it, and because I have to read about 3 times, to sit and think about the book, the
right, right.
implications there. Sometimes it's scary. I say, wow, you can talk about this, you can talk about the education,
Mhm.
because the impact of malaria and
Right,
all
yeah,
these things on our people, the
mhm.
elderly people, even the elderly people, how when you are sick you get, because I have a cousin who was faring well, and they went to Banjul and somebody was sleeping outside and he ended up getting sick. We have to
Yeah,
take
it's
him,
right, right.
take her back to Gunjur and all
Mhm.
those things. So they have to exchange them. Mr. XY comes for 2 days, the
Right,
following day.
right,
So and every one of them got sick. The environment wasn't conducive, but the mosquito bite is unbearable.
right.
But Baba's costume, he's a real city boy. And he called himself cheeky boy.
Tiki
You
boy,
see,
yes.
these mosquitoes are kind of enjoying themselves with us.
Right, yeah, yes, yes, yes.
So they tell us their force. Baba must be very, very clever.
Yeah,
To come out with all these fantastic force that's create havoc on the
yeah.
whole of the Gambia, not only Banjul, but the whole of the Gambia. And they seems to be enjoying himself, because we can't do anything to them as far as we
Right,
keep
right, yeah, yeah.
we keep
Right,
our environment dirty. And then they said, just keep the environment dirty, keep the gutters, blocked and stagnant water all over the place.
yeah,
And
yeah.
that's where it is, because Lamino kind of envy that, so we'll come to Lamino. But tell us about the force, what were you thinking?
you know, uh, I don't know. Some of ideas just sometimes just come to you,
Yeah.
right? So when I took the paragraph out, and now I had to make it like a full story. So I just had this idea of this mosquito that just using humans, and I think there's an underlying something in the story too. So I'm not sure if you catch it. So it's just like how Yaya Jammeh came and just took over, and then created his forces, have all these people, and they're attacking people, and so there's that element of that in it, right? And you can see that Nyancho could possibly be Aissatou Njai Sedi at the time, right? As the vice, because you see that Nyancho, she's the one that led the attack to the state
The
house.
State House, yes.
So and mosquitoes, the female mosquitoes are the ones that that carry malaria.
Malaria, yes.
And I also wanted to educate the kids not just about it, but also about mosquitoes, their lifespan, their life cycle. So I wanted to put all these little subtle lessons in the story as well for the benefit of the kids. So you'll see that I have the life cycle of a mosquito there. So it's like a science, from the larva, and it goes like that. So I wanted to do that, and also the flight range that you were talking about, because most people didn't know. But when I was writing the story, and then it just occurred to me, I said, "Oh, I wonder how far mosquitoes fly," because I wanted to make sure that the story was accurate. So when I said, okay, this mosquito flew from Sukuta to Banjul, so all of a sudden I was like, oh, maybe I need to find out their flight range before I go and put it
The
out
fly.
there. So when I found out their flight range, that it was between 1 and 3 miles. So now I said, okay, this is good, because if I want to make Lamino a hero, somebody, then I will make him break the rules of that and became this guy that flew 12 miles instead of just the 1 to 3 miles that mosquitoes are. So it's like it is, you have this, these powers, right? So um, I wanted to use that also after knowing that they only fly this, so that Lamino, when he makes it to mosquito to Banjul, he will be envied by everybody, because they've never heard of another mosquito flying. So with him coming from Sukuta flying 12 miles, he was the envy of the town and talk of the town. And Baba capitalized on that, because he said, whoa, we have a good one here, and then recruited him right away, because now he's knowing that people are coming, and now he has established himself as the leader. So he would just intercept you when you come into Banjo, to show that he's the one in control, right? And appoints you. And that was the same thing that Yaya Jammeh was doing. He took over and then basically would appoint everybody. He was the one running things. So there's that story in the underlying thing,
All right.
the
Okay.
underlying story
Okay.
of the dictatorship we went through as well. So that's
Okay.
why you see when they attacked the state house and took over and all these things. So there's that element in it as well.
Yeah, yeah. No, I didn't get that before, but now the taking of State House,
Yeah, yeah,
and there's another picture that you put the maggots there in the drainage water, the
right,
dirty
right.
water, and
Yeah,
all those
yeah.
things. That's all teaching people, the
Right.
kids,
Because yeah,
that yes,
it's visual. It's visual.
exactly. It's very,
Yeah.
very visual there. So it is important. But let's go. Let go. And he said, "I'm the blind mosquito." Proudly, I
Right.
am the blind mosquito. So that we don't see anything with blindness.
Right. Right.
It's only our environment that disabled them, not
Right.
because of the blindness anyway.
Right.
But he said, they call me the drone.
Mhm.
So and then he went on to say, "I know the city in and out, and then I carry out any mission." So
Yes.
that's that portraying, to be a blind person. That doesn't necessarily mean you're not
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you are not aware of your environment, or you
Right.
don't know,
Right.
So and I like his costume anyway. So which is fantastic, and with the dark specs,
With the dark specs, right?
yes, with the dark spec, but but he's also humble, and he's disciplined also. So all
Yes.
these adjectives, you are just kind of cementing him with all these adjectives, to
Mhm.
make blindness attractive. And it should be attractive, as you
Yes.
said
Yeah.
here and there.
Yeah.
You cannot, they're doing their normal life, they're doing jobs that we can do the same thing.
Right.
My gym, there's a blind person that comes almost on a daily basis with his sticks. And
Mhm.
sometimes I cannot just understand how this man run on the treadmills and do everything
Right.
and
You see?
himself and all those things.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but because of our mentalities and all those things, we treat these people to the extent that they think they cannot do anything
Right.
for
And and
themselves.
and and, and the
Yes,
third part about it is they accept it, right?
yes,
And they feel like they don't have the power to do anything but what they are expected to do, which is to go back in the streets and not pursue any education or anything like that. So that's what I wanted to change, to so that just because one of your senses is not working,
hmm
does it means that your entire life is limited? Like
hmm
there are other things that you can do, because even if you're blind, your other senses probably are magnified. Just because you're blind, you're not seeing, but your sense of smell and all this touch and feel, those are just heightened because of this. So those are compensated. The blindness, you're not seeing, but all the compensation, the other senses are compensated. And if you put your mind to anything and have that confidence, that's why Joel says, I am the drone. They call me the drone. And he's proud of that, because, drones, you're up there, you're seeing everything, right? Joel is blind when he's down, but when he's up there,
Okay,
His
yeah.
eyes lit up. He sees the city. He knows where to go. I mean, because of his sense of direction, it's just sharp and perfect. Because it made up for the blindness. So I wanted to kind of boost that confidence in the disabled and say, hey, I am disabled, but I could be anything I want to be. I'm not going to let society determine what my worth is. That has to come from you as an individual and as a handicapped person. So uh, I really wanted to promote the character of Joel and that confidence, and I can do it. Nothing can stop me. They call me the drone. I'm proud. I know the city inside out, know it better than all these other people that have eyes. So it was very important for me to really highlight the
Yeah.
character of Joel with all these other qualities that he has.
Exactly, and not only the commander, but well-respected
Well
commander with
respected. He was
dignity. People
humble.
respect him.
Right, right,
Everybody
right,
around him respect him,
right.
and know he can do his job. And this can even help the parents, because when you have your kids, you have to empower them.
You
You
have to.
have to make sure the environment around them should give them the inspiration that they can
Mhm.
do anything that they want.
Right.
Not because they are blind. That means that's the end of their life. They have to either be hidden in the homes, or
Right.
they're going to be let to go into the street to beg. That's the
Mhm.
only thing that they
That's
can do.
those are
and
the two
and then
options.
that put their morals down, and they think, yes, this is what I'm good at, either
Mhm.
beg or stay at home, and people will come and give me all those things. So it's a fantastic. So this is why this book is good, really, really, really good. Read it, because the first time I read it quickly and finish it. I said,
Mhm.
okay, let me read it again. So
Right.
and give myself space to think about the book,
Mhm.
the
Mhm. Yeah.
implication of the book,
Yeah.
but it is a fantastic book. Anyway, it's unfortunate the Sukutarians are mentioned in this book, not not Gunjur. So I envy them. I envy them for that.
Right.
So
Right.
we have the rural mosquito migrant, in the history of Banjul mosquito forces from Sukuta.
Right.
But his nickname, that one really fascinated me, and he said I was called Jukenseng.
Yes.
Uh,
but there's a
I
reason
had
why.
a naughty as a naughty habit, and only attack people while they were in the showers. So
Yeah.
not really naughty.
Because that's when people are more are really vulnerable, right? So
Yes, yes.
when they're naked, you get all the bites. They cannot run out with nakedness. They're just gonna be there, and you're just gonna keep biting until they try to smash you or something. But yeah, so he catches them in this vulnerable position. So
Yes, yes,
yeah.
yes. And I agree with him. Sukuda is definitely dull and boring. So so there's nothing there. So
Well,
no wonder.
at that time, but that has changed now.
No
So
wonder he want to try his luck. But
yeah.
try his luck. He had that in Banjul. You can breathe throughout the ear. So in excitement. So this tell us, because he think, and probably that time, Sukuta wasn't that populated. Now
Right.
things are changing in Sukuta, the
Mhm.
drainage systems, people are throwing things, and mosquitoes are coming in large number in Sukuta also equally.
Mhm.
But before, he said, the drainage are blocked, the places are dirty, water is not running as how it should be. Then it is a good place, to
Yeah.
go and and,
Mhm.
and breed. And
Yeah.
because the mosquitoes said, we want to multiply, and they
That's right.
they just kind of be beating their chest and say we want to multiply, because when we multiply, we can outnumber these
Right.
the human beings, and do whatever. So it's so fascinating, for people to rethink, that as far as we keep our environment dirty as it
Mhm.
is,
Yeah.
not only mosquitoes but other things are going to
Right.
come
Right.
and attack us and
Yeah.
make us to get sick. So
Mhm.
what this means, it has implication on the economy. When people are sick, they don't
Yeah.
go to work.
Mhm.
The little budget things are not easy there, but the little thing that you have and the whole family, if you get sick, they stop buying food.
Yeah.
They stop
And
buying
it can
other
always
things.
also affect our tourism industry because we
Ex-
have
ex-
all these
ex-
Europeans coming,
so
and
this
if
is the
they
thing.
come there and they catch malaria all the time, they're not coming anymore because
They're not coming. Or the
that
tourist
was the
season. Yes, go ahead.
malaria was the part of, but here's the thing with the mosquitoes, even though they are fighting us, but they were also helping in fighting for our independence because they played a part in driving out the colonial people, right? Because they were dying and people are being replaced. So they did everything to try to the chemical warfare, you name it, because Banjul used to have a big forest.
Mm.
I'm working on writing about the history of the Banjul mosquito. So this is their story. I'm working on writing about their history because Banjul had a big forest full of
Okay.
like those big trees. So it was this sacred forest that people used to go, just like our culture is sacred, and they go to circumcise people there or that kind
Okay.
of
All
stuff.
right. Okay.
So it um, when the mosquitoes were giving when they first settled there, the colonials, um, they were having these mosquito issues. So they waged
Mhm.
chemical warfare and all these things. It didn't work. So they decided that they were going to cut down all the trees in the forest because they had some of those big hollow trees that were collecting
Mm.
water in it, and mosquitoes were breeding in there. So
Mm.
it caused some type of friction between them and the locals because they say, "Don't touch it; it's our sacred place." Kind of blah blah blah. So, but they cut it out anyways to try to fight these mosquitoes. So
Yeah,
the
okay.
mosquitoes did play a role in chasing them out, also. So it's a give and take situation. So we have this love and hate relationship because they were part of the fight, uh,
Mhm.
in my mind, to get rid of the British, and uh, they
Mm.
couldn't understand how, because they didn't understand malaria when they first came there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it came later that malaria was, I think, in 18 something, I forgot. They decided that mosquitoes were actually the cause of malaria. So they started
Mhm.
doing all the studies and then they started waging war on mosquitoes. But it never worked in Banjul. They cut down the trees and everything, and it still never worked. But they did play a role in kicking them out, if we want to call it that.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, because and now the British are gone. Now we want to reduce their population so
We
that
want to reduce their
they don't
population.
wipe us also out. So but another thing that I reflected on, Lamino was highly welcome in Banjul, and
Right.
that tells us, that time in the Gambia, wherever you go, anywhere you go, you
Anyway, you
have
go,
your
yeah.
challenges, but
Mhm.
we are families. We
Right.
welcome each other. The fact that he can travel for 12 miles, he become instantly a hero, and
Yeah,
everybody
exactly. Anyway,
welcome
yeah.
him. And he was so comfortable to the extent that he said, "I'm going to go for my wife in Sukuta,"
That's right.
and all those things. So sometimes, we think we are so divided to the extent that we don't want to see each other and all those things. But this
Yeah,
has been Gambian thing, and
yeah.
I catch up that I say, you see, Lamino flow from Sukuta all the way. 12 hours for him is a very, very, very. It never happened in Mosquito life,
Mhm.
So, and he's a hero. Everybody welcome him as a hero. And at some point, he kind of become a king. He was, at some point, Baba was there, he controlling everything. But the most famous
Yeah,
is Lamino.
yeah. Mhm.
People welcome him in Banjul and all those things. So this tells us a lot that we
Yeah,
are all
yeah,
one.
that's something I wanted to touch on too.
Go ahead. Yes.
The because we are so divided and we think we are so, oh, I'm from
Mm,
here, so we have this. So we need to get rid of that regionalism type
mm. Yes.
stuff. We
Yes.
need to become one as a people.
Mm,
And that's part of this message as well. Like,
mm,
you
mm,
can come from anywhere and be there as long as you are good at what you do. So
mm.
we need to be like a merit-based society, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
Lamino came from Sukuta, didn't have any relatives in Banjul, but he came because he could fly, and that was his power, that was his strength,
Mm,
right? And they needed that at that time. So the merit was there for him to be appointed as a commander because he would be able to do the job regardless of where he came from or who he was, right? So we need to think about that and say,
mm,
try to create this meritocracy whereby things are based on merit, not where you're from or who are
mm,
you related to or who's your father or who's your, because a lot of Gambians are right about they're writing their father's name. Oh, Div Sangam is my father. This is my father. But your father did that. But what about you? What are you
yeah.
going to do?
Yeah.
Right. So we need to acknowledge our fathers' contributions, but we need to do our own contribution, not just try to be hanging on, this is my father, this is my way, I'm Mandomi Dula, Mandomi. But what are you doing? You did something, what are you doing? So we need to be able to kind of shatter that
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, that glass and say, hey, we are one people, regardless. I mean, America is a melting pot. People
Yes.
from all over the world, right? You go to a workplace, you see people, but they are all here to do a job. They focus on the job, the job gets done. They all go home and mind their own business, right? So it is developing because of that. You have people coming from all over the world. But we, as one people, we cannot do that. And we are one people. But
Yes.
just using this tribe thing and all this regional thing to basically divide on ourselves, and the politicians are capitalizing on that because they see that maybe this is our mindset and they can play us, and it's working. I
It,
mean,
it is working. Sadly, Mr. Ndow, it is working. And everybody, anywhere you are, you have to abhor, these divisions that we are artificially. And sometimes we say, no, I'm not this because my father is this, my brother
right,
is
right,
this. But still, we have these mentalities of these divisions. And these loopholes are being seen by politicians, and
right,
they get in and make it wider for us. But at some point we reflect and get a same. Your for example, my grandfather, my grandmom from my dad's side is a fuller from Basse or Kosemar, I
mm,
think so. So if you just check and see my surname, you're going to miss the point,
right,
because
right.
the all the tentacles that came to be who I am are
Mm,
everywhere in the Gambia,
everywhere in the
across
Gambia.
across all areas.
Mhm.
So, but we should also be ashamed to say, my fathers did this and all those things. Your fathers did this, and you are retrogressing now. We are
Right,
going
right.
down as a people. So we shouldn't celebrate that legacy if we are failing as people.
As
So
people, yes.
so these are so important, and Lamino coming and because he come with some merit, he's strong,
Right,
he flew and he started, getting into the group and yielding, what they want
right.
as
Mhm,
a force,
mhm.
and what not that only, but he went back to Sukut and came back with the wife Nyanjo, and
Yeah,
Nyanjo
yeah.
is an iron lady. you know, his tongue like a bee and booze like one,
Right, right.
So you playing with words here, bro.
Thank
I,
you,
I
thank
I
you,
think this is a good book. Not
thank you,
only
thank you.
seeing the pages and flick it, but
Right.
reflect on the book and see the Gambian situation, the contemporary Gambian situation.
Mhm.
And this book, any page will fit into anywhere that you
Yeah.
want. You can see a place here, you can put this book there,
Mhm, mhm.
you know and Baba was very, very impressed with Nyancho. Tell us about Nyancho.
Well, in the original story, Nyancho flew on her way, had stopped at mile 2, right? So there was a big bad murderer in Banjul, whose name was Gainde Jai, and Gainde Jai was incarcerated in mile 2 because he had just committed like murder maybe 6 months before. So he was this big guy that everybody feared in the prison. But when Nyancho came on Nyancho's flying to Sukuta, Nyancho decided to take a rest at mile 2.
Ah.
So, but once Nyancho left mile 2, rumors started going around because Nyancho um, bit Gainde Jai, who was the most feared Nongo in Banjul, and now he was incarcerated in mile 2 because of he committed murder. So when Nyancho um, infected Lamino with malaria, Lamino was transported to RVH, and he subsequently, I'm not Gainde Jai, and he subsequently died.
Mm.
So that also propelled Nyancho because rumor went around the city that Nyancho had killed Gaindenjai, who everybody was feared, in Banjul, and now he was in jail for murder. So, but that couldn't come in the story because, like I was saying, some things had to come out. So, but that element of the story couldn't come because you had to. But that was how Nyancho became famous in Banjul. But even though Lamino had just sent Nyancho. In the original story, they weren't married. Nyancho was just a girlfriend. And Lamino had sent a message to Nyancho and said, Banjul nice. And then so Nyancho also decided to find her way. So, but you had to sometimes tweak it a little bit to make it so then they became husband and a wife. So since it was like a children's book, I didn't want to put this girlfriend, boyfriend thing there. So I made it a wife, and then instead Lamino had just called for Nyancho, the wife, to come instead of how Nyancho came to Banjul in the original story.
Yeah, and I like Nyancho. Greetings to brother Idi. It's a good evening, bro, and please share the so that people can order these books, and we are pleading to you to read the book and understand and see the implications, because there's a story that is hidden, in this book, and we have to unearth it. But send this book, to Gambia, and send and give it to any primary school that is from your village or whatever, and tell the teachers, the importance of this book so that they can read it to kids, because these are deadly things that are killing people, the mosquitoes and all those things, But I like Nyancho's head tie. The dress is magnificent, So and
It's the
with the earrings and all
yeah.
those things, So she's a queen,
Yeah.
really, But compliment to Nyancho, and not only attack the state house. The Banjul Dongas on the street cannot cope. They
I
had to
cannot
go to
go.
bed
Right,
early. They had to go to bed early because Nyanjo stopped them from coming out and hanging and disturbing everybody also.
Disturbing everybody,
So
right?
so that is so important,
Yeah.
But they get so comfortable to the extent that they said no, now we have to invade the president's official
That's
residence.
right. That's right.
But that comes with Yaya Jame also,
Right, right, right. So that's why I
and
was saying there's this
yes.
underlying story, of people, coming in, wanting to find success in whatever way, right? Whether by hook or by crook, and in which in Yaya Jame's case is by crook. So I wanted to kind of throw that in there a little bit. So some people, because you see the mosquitoes and you see the story, it's funny and stuff, but you have to really read against the grain to get some of the other underlying things that are there, important things that are there that are highlighted as well. So it's very rich, and I try to layer all the stories in it within the main story, and it was tough, but it worked at the end, because you just have to be very innovative sometimes to because storytelling can be challenging, because it's about the audience, and sometimes you don't know how the audience are going to consume it. So you have to package it in a way to whereby they can consume it on different levels, right? So there are some that are only going to read the story and they see the funny part of it and the characters, and that's it. So, but then there are people that are going to go deeper, that are going to see some of these representation stories, like the representation of women and the blind, right? So for a young kid, they just are looking at the fun and the characters. But for more mature people, then they will dive deeper into the representation of our people, being in a book, and our stories being told, and all these other representations that are going on for the blind and stuff. So, and then you go another layer deeper, then you see the Ayajame aspect of it as well. So taking control, make yourself a dictator, and then you start appointing people, and you make them go attack at night, and clobber people and all these things. So there's all these things going on in the story, but they are layered. So as kids grow up, then they're gonna see all the other layers that are in the story.
Yeah, and yes, as I said, we conquered the troublemakers, conquered everybody to the extent that the state house and then the hospitals, people are running, people are
Right.
sick, people have itchy mosquito bites, and finally, Baba says, "We did it, we
We
did
did
it."
it. Yeah.
So Baba is so pleased. with their job to the extent that we did it, to the detriment of human beings,
Right.
and you have some pop quiz there also, and those are challenging, for the kids to remember the stories and all
Yeah,
those.
remember the story. And then
Yes.
some of them are interactive because I didn't put answers. So I want the kids to partner with the
Yeah.
parents
Yeah.
and be able to figure it out, whether they're going to go do some little research online and find out things. Because I think it's very important to keep them engaged after reading the book. That way, they will be able to analyze it, right? Because if you just make it a story, they'll just read it and leave it.
Mhm.
But if you give them some questions, it will kind of compel them to go back on the book. Oh, where can I find the answer to this? Let me go back to this page. So they will go and reread it. So they are re-engaging with the book after reading it already by and then finding out this answer. So some of them they can find in the book, or some they will have to go do some research on themselves. So you are allowing them to go outside of the book to find out things about the book, and so you're encouraging this research. Like, okay, the book says this, but the answer is this. How do I find out? We have the internet, right? Google it, go read about it. So that's because I do that. I read something and I'm
Mhm.
like, oh, I never knew about this thing. So it allows me to go online and find out and research about this thing, because that's how you acquire knowledge, right? You see something that you really don't understand, and then you go, oh, I want to know about this, and you go and you find out. And sometimes you read these things and you don't know that you're learning it, because some of the information that the brain
Mhm.
collects,
Mhm.
you don't
Mhm.
realize, oh, I just learned this.
Yeah.
So it just goes to the back of the subconscious for whenever the need arises. And then boom, it comes out. And you don't even remember when you learn it, because the brain
Mhm.
has this way of capturing things when we don't even realize it. So it's good to expose yourself to information and to read, because sometimes you may read something and think, oh, I didn't get it. But the brain has captured parts
Mhm.
of it,
Mhm.
and it will pop up once the information is needed. So, and all this is because we all have intuition,
Yes.
right? So it is that intuition that goes back and collects that information and brings it to you in a split second. So reading and exposing yourself to information is very important, because the brain absorbs everything. Sometimes you don't even know it is absorbing things.
Yeah, the mischievous mosquito of Banjul. We can extrapolate this and say the mischievous mosquitoes of the Gambia. This book is in Amazon. Is in Mr. The author, the writer, the people that produced the book for him. Their website also is there. Get this book from Amazon, from anywhere you can get it, or message Mr. Dow, and you can get the book. Read it, because this book is rich. But what you can do also is to send this book to our kids, our schools in the Gambia. Now we are doing those a lot, so that any Gambian writer, we invite them there, so that people can read. No, not only read the books, but you can send these books and you can buy it in bulk. And of course, we have to celebrate our people. We have to celebrate the people who sacrifice their time, because as I always said, you're doing the same work with them here. We know how busy it is. You have a family, they have a family, but they will spare a time, to read and write and put this collection of these books. And another thing is to tell our own stories, because he was in Banjul, he is in Gambia. Anybody who read this, you see yourself in this, you
Mhm.
understand this book better, because anything that's there, the names, the characters, and all those things are something that you can see yourself
Yeah,
in.
yeah.
So please get this book and read it. You have to read. We have to read and start being dependent on ourselves.
Right.
Sometimes we will say the government, we are depending on loans and grants and all those things, but even ourselves, we are depending on people and all those things, because we don't want to read to get the information. People can give you information at any time, whether that benefits you or not. You don't know. So find it for yourself and start with this book. Thank you so much, Mr. Ndau,
Yeah, and
for
also
for
the
go
book
ahead.
is, if they're buying it in bulk, it is better to contact the publisher, because then maybe you can work out a deal compared to Amazon, right? Because
Yes,
Amazon
yes.
is just the price; you can't negotiate anything. So
No.
if they're buying book, maybe like 100 books or 200 books or whatever, the publisher, because they're Gambian and based here, so
Yeah.
it's most likely that you can work out something with them. Maybe they'll give you some type of discount. And also in the next week or two, I'll have special editions of the book because the book won an award. So it will come like I have my book with the award sticker. So I'll be selling them on Facebook actually. So I have some copies coming to me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have the hard copy and the soft copy, and then I can personalize it and send it to people, and with the award-winning sticker as well. So this one has the award-winning sticker, and
Yeah.
the next book is due sometime in August
Wow.
from this series. So also
Yeah.
there's a new mosquito character that's been introduced.
Mm.
People will love her as well. So look forward for her. She's coming out too.
Yeah, we definitely we will need a personalized version of it. My daughters, so that they can see themselves, their names on the book, and that's gonna encourage them to read more. So
Yeah,
when it's out, I'm going to order all for them because already we read this together.
Mhm.
So if we personalize them for them, they will understand more because they've been in the Gambia and they know everything about
Yeah,
mosquitoes.
yeah,
So but these books helps a lot. So maybe you can send me the producers, their website also. I
yeah. I
can
will. I will.
display.
Yes, yes,
Yes,
yes,
I can
yes.
display it
Yeah,
on Gunjur
the publisher.
online, and
Yes, yes.
yes, and our personal websites also on Facebook, so that at least if I had known that I will not go to Amazon, I will have come to them. They are Gambians, they are
Right, right,
doing
right.
fantastic things. But
Mhm.
in the personalized ones, definitely we will get it. Please contact Mr. Ndau. I will display the website, and if you want, you can messenger him so that at least you can order the book from our Gambian brothers and sisters, because we have to celebrate our own selves. We have to. So when we have Gambians doing business, doing anything that we need the service of, let's go to Gambians, and because we are all one, and always remember we are all one. Let nobody. We can be agree and disagree on the way to develop the small country, but let's us not have rancor between ourselves and the hatred just because you are from, regional what or regional X or regional what, or your skin is black or you are white, you are this thing. No, we are all Gambians. We are all Gambians, and that's what this book manifested. And thank you so much, our viewers, wherever you are. Thank you, Mr. Ndao, for coming to Gunjur Online, to share your experience and your wisdom with us. And we appreciate it. We thank you. We celebrate you also for this book and all the things that you've doing, for the country, your activism for the right things of the country, so that the country can go forward. All acknowledged, and we've been following you for long time. But this book is magnificent. Please get your copy. Thank you so much once again. Greetings to Gunjur Online
Thank you.
producers
Thank
and
you.
our boss Lamin Jamme, and all the members of Gunjur Online, and those who are watching and those who are going to come to watch this program. Please, thank you so much. From the bottom of our heart, we say we appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Ndao.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Ta. Mm. Yeah.